Allow me to introduce myself.
I am the last sane sports fan.
I am a genius by trade.
I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. Well, we're going to talk about, just kind of coaching today. It's a topic that I kind of brought up yesterday, just a tiny bit, when talking about the Chicago Bulls and their head coach, Tom Thibodeau. Basically, I think professional sports, even college sports to a certain degree, have gotten to a point now where everything is overcoached. And that is kind of a broad topic, or broad, painting with broad brushstrokes here. But ultimately, I think there's so many good coaches out there that like to overthink things. I do believe, as much as I like him and as much as I hope that he stays, I do believe that the current St. Louis Blues head coach, Ken Hitchcock, is guilty of that. Pep Guardiola is guilty of that. For those of you who follow European soccer, Bayern Munich is his team, and they just got knocked out by Barcelona. No embarrassing feat there. Barcelona is probably the best team in the world right now, but we'll get into that in just a second. As I mentioned yesterday, I believe Tom Thibodeau of the Chicago Bulls is guilty of that. The best coaches throughout history have been guilty of that at this time or another. But it just seems like, as a whole, the sports world has so many coaches right now that just kind of outthink themselves, outthink their team's ability to win, and end up costing their teams a lot of times. Not more often than not, but enough times to make it kind of circumstantial evidence. Taking the soccer example, because that one's the most fresh in my mind, Bayern Munich ended up winning their home game by the score of 3-2, but they ended up losing. And those of you who don't know how European soccer works, in these cup stages, right now they're playing in the Champions League, which is essentially a cup tournament. And basically how those work is you play two games, each team gets a home game. You take the overall aggregate score, and whoever has the most goals wins. If it's tied, whoever has the most away goals, the most goals scored on the road, that team wins. And then if it's still even after that, they'll probably go to penalty kicks and whatnot. Well, basically, Bayern Munich's tactics in the game on the road when they were at Barcelona cost them an opportunity to advance in the Champions League, because they got thrashed. They lost 3-0, and quite frankly, it could have been much worse than that. Now, yesterday's game, to which they won 3-2, it was a good game, but still, Barcelona did enough to where they were ahead 2-1 at the half. They kind of fell into a defensive shell, and even that kind of falls into the category that we're talking about here, overcoaching. But the thing that I think falls or covers most of this situation when you talk about overcoaching is there are so few coaches out there that are willing to just say, this is how we play the game. We're going to go out there and take it to you. It's up to you to figure out how to stop us. And Bayern Munich, granted, they had lots of injuries. Iron Robin is out. Frank Ribery is out. They had to move pieces around. So you're bound to come up with a different style of playing. But one of the big questions was, what kind of defensive shape were they going to set up with? Well, in an attempt, and I understand where Guardiola was coming from here, but in an attempt to counteract the offensive firepower of Barcelona, they played three at the back. Well, if that's the way that you play normally, that's fine. I don't necessarily always like the formation of only three central defenders, and then all of a sudden you have to rely on your wingbacks to play to help out increasingly on defense. But Bayern Munich doesn't play three at the back. They're used to a four back and then an attacking formation going forward. All of a sudden, you're changing your entire team chemistry. You have players, once you go to four at the back, without making substitution, you got to kind of rotate everybody around. It just really put the team in a bad position. I understand what Guardiola was going with, but even though Barcelona is the best team in the world, or one of the best teams in the world, great attacking style, Neymar, Suarez, Messi, they just score goals for fun. You still have to say, hey, we might have a couple players injured, but we're still Bayern Munich, damn it. We're going to go out there, play our style of game, try to get the ball away when we can, because obviously Barcelona loves to have possession. But we're still going to go out there, do what we do as Bayern Munich, and let the chips fall where they may. I don't agree with this situation where it's like, oh, well, you're on the road, you need to go for the 0-0 tie, just pack it in, tight defense. I don't necessarily agree with that. But I don't agree with this idea that you have to change your formation every single time and play a system that you're not used to, putting your players in foreign situations. And it ultimately just disrupts everything. Go out there, play the way that you want to play. Play your style. You have to come up with as a team, you have to come up with a style that you want to play. Go out there and say, hey, it is up to you, our opponent, to find a way to beat us, not the other way around. Ken Hitchcock, although he is good at doing that in principle, saying that the St. Louis Blues have a certain way to play, and I do believe that it does fall on the players a lot when they do not do it, because as a coach, you can only yell at people so much before eventually they just tune you out and are just doing whatever. But Ken Hitchcock was also guilty of overthinking things as a coach and changing up lines at random just because something might not be working for 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden you have 3 completely different lines, messing up chemistry that way. I understand you have to try to mix things up every now and then, but again, go out there, say we are the St. Louis Blues, we have one of the best regular season records in hockey the past couple years. You have to find a way to beat us, not the other way around. Chicago Bulls, as I mentioned yesterday, same thing. They're kind of mixing up their lineups. They're not necessarily playing the players together that come up with the best results on the court, at least statistically. Obviously, Coach Thibodeau has his own opinions on who should be out there. He's the coach. You have to kind of abide by that as long as he is the coach. But again, put out the team that you think is going to force the other team to make their adjustments. You're the Chicago Bulls. We're going to play Bulls basketball. You, our opponent, have to figure out a way to beat us. I think if more teams played that way, and coaches didn't necessarily fall into this trap of thinking, well, I'm a great tactician, I'm just going to change this, tweak that, make this little alteration. You force the other team to make that. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. Unfortunately, a lot of coaches out there aren't. There are certain situations, as I said, this is obviously a broad painting system that I'm using right here. There are plenty of situations where you have to make changes. As I said, alterations can be made. You have to make changes every now and then. But ultimately, I think more teams than not need to just say, this is how we play. You have to figure out a way to stop us. That is the view from the Midwest. What is your view on today's topic? Leave us a comment, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, comment, rate, and subscribe as always. If you're watching on Facebook, share it around with your friends and we'll keep on rolling. But until the next time, this is the view from the Midwest. I will see you next time.